Alrighty, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy White Album here, and welcome back to some more Holy Night. Before I get started, I just want to let you guys know that I did start a brand new Persona 4 Golden playthrough on my channel, and if you're like me, you never really had stepped foot into the whole world of Persona, I do recommend giving those videos out. I did upload 2 of them, so maybe after this one you could go and hop onto those ones. But here we go. Last time we left off, Aoko and Sojiro ended up defeating Alice's Flat Snark. We have yet to see Alice's perspective of the whole ordeal. So here we go. Hopefully we can get onto that. I got my G Fuel ready with me. Keep my voice, or keep my mouth nice and moisturized. So I don't, keep talking over, or I'm already fucking up. But here we go. Episode 6, like a dog, he was still in a deep sleep. Who was in a deep sleep? It all seemed ablaze in a mad fiery red. I fucked that one up. Unbearable idle thoughts. Insistent obstinacy. There you go. Melancholy sights and gloomy, bittersweet talk. Fickle wickedness born of human interaction. Namely, the voice of a forsaken coexistence. This, however, was the scenery of a world far removed from that. If there were those praying this was paradise, then there were likely also those lamenting it as the underworld. In a decade, or perhaps longer, this would all change, but for now, the autumn leaves remained yet untrampled by human souls. It was a scenery he knew well. Ooh, looks like we're in the perspective of Sojiro now. Life in the mountains was humble and modest. There were no conspicuous buildings among this wilderness he called home. He gathered and stockpiled only what they needed to survive, without pillaging the land. Serpentine trails could be seen woven through the fields, and the stone steps leading to the summit were obscured by the forest, only visible once upon them. The mountain inhabitants probably intended it that way. There was no sign of mankind's exploitation among the mountain landscape. He suddenly remembered that this was the season he liked the most. Or rather, it suited him the most. There was much to be done to prepare for winter. But whenever he had a free moment, he would make his way toward the mountaintop, gazing idly at the setting sun while breathing deep the crisp autumn air was probably the second favorite of his daily joys. Okay, let's be honest. Autumn, fall, whatever you call it, that's my favorite season, dude. Because it's not super hot, but it's not super cold. It's just in that perfect middle where it's just you get the nice chilly days. It's basically you could wear a black fucking long sleeve t-shirt outside without sweating like a fucking hippo in the safari, the Sahara. There you go. I'm trying to think of something of the desert there, or some fucking thing. But yeah, I love autumn. It's literally my favorite season of the year. I've always looked forward to it. Florida is okay when it comes to it. We don't get the the traditional scenery you see that accompanies fall with the orange and yellow and reds and browns, the leaves and shit like that. We don't really get that here. But I know when I went to Tennessee, for Thanksgiving, that's what it looked like, and man, it was gorgeous. Yeah, I definitely love fall. Winter I would say would be next, but I guess winter here in Florida is not really that much. You just get cold wind and that's it. Here we go. It relaxed him. The cold but comforting wind at dusk, and the way the sunset dyed the peaks a vibrant crimson. Not 2 months had passed since coming down from the mountains, and it already pained him that the memories had begun to fade. Someone once told him that memories fade every day, so the best one you do is to make as many new ones as possible. Recollections grew hazy. A new place to live meant the beginning of a new life. He wasn't sure if he was reluctant to let go of the scenery he cherished for so long, or if he merely been spoiled by it. Despite his new home in a city surrounded by tall buildings, he felt guilty for wanting those memories alone to remain clear in his mind. Either way, he had to make the best of a fresh start. What kind of a man thinks more about where he came from than where he's going? He contemplated.
そうか。これ、夢だ。
Oh, this is a dream. He tried to stop himself from indulging in uncharacteristic sentimentality. It wouldn't be a dream if it were easy to understand. The moment he realized he was dreaming, the angular shadows began to rise from the autumn colors. There were concrete buildings previously unknown and yet familiar to him at the same time. This was how his current life was washing away his memories. Struggle as he might, there was no stopping the degradation of human memory or impressions. It was merely a fact of life. By nature, humans lived in the present over the past. Eventually, even his most cherished memories would be swallowed up. What? Even his most cherished memories would be swallowed up. Would be swallowed up the buildings? I think it was meant to say would be swallowed up by the buildings. I think that's what that meant to say. That's a translation error. It was neither cruel nor heartless. If they were sure to disappear, then for now he would content himself with dreaming about the memories he could clearly recall. Whether in the mountains or in the city, the days flew by. Yesterday's scenery was not the same as today's. Oh, as such, she had given him no time to grieve. Distant nostalgia was beautiful, but that made it fleeting.
土産入道じゃないんだぞ、青崎。
Yeah, I'm not gonna try to pronounce that. You're no, such and such, Alzaki. I can't talk my way past you. What the fuck? I'm trying to, think of what that word mean. I could look it up. A faint dizziness made him close his eyes. Without sight, the mountainous landscape vanished, but in its place, a familiar voice could be heard. It was a booming voice that seemed to shake not only the mountainside he stood upon, but the entire mountain as well. And of course, Aoko Alzaki reappeared towering in the distance. He must have been tired, he thought, diagnosing himself while trying to make out what she was saying. Fearing the vertigo would return if he reopened his eyes, he decided to keep them closed. It sounded like she was arguing with someone, though the tone was all he could make out. It wasn't violent, but certainly aggressive. Maybe she was picking a fight with another mountain across the way. He wouldn't put it past her. After all, she was a troublemaker who blew up the moon. True. He couldn't quite grasp the conversation, though somehow vaguely, he had the sense that his human rights were being largely ignored, and it was deeply unsettling, even for a dream. After several minutes, it seemed that the high-impact argument had ended in Aoko's victory. Then suddenly, the boisterous voice faded. Praying everything would be back to normal, he reopened his eyes. Wait, what? Was this prior before he got put into a bottle? He took a deep, slow breath. The scenery was a far cry from the nostalgic dreamscape he had just left. I'll bet not unpleasant either. Or albeit. Without a doubt, it was the amusement park. To him, his was his freshest memory. Or I guess this. He recalled the house of mirrors that Aoko Agzaki destroyed. This park was a flawless replica of reality, but he was the only one there. Without having to worry about anyone chasing him, he sat down on the wreckage of Kitsy rides and looked at the moon that should have been shot down. The winter moon shone white like a jewel. It was layered over the figure of the girl who tried to kill him. If the mage was a witch, then she definitely fit the bill. I don't mind being killed. Such an absurd thing to say, but it spilled out of him so naturally.
Yeah. でも。
Well, maybe. That had nothing to do with the witches or magecraft. There was an echo in the gasps of his heart, or in the gaps of his heart. If she had not spoken those words, then he would have not responded as he did. In that moment, what had Aozaki said to him? As he tried to remember, his deep slumber drew to an end. And with it, his chance to find the answers he so wished he could find. Sorry. It was like caught in my throat. Then, Sojiro woke up in an unfamiliar room, gasping. Not because the plush mattress he was on was softer than his apartment's cheap futon, or because everything from the carpet to the wallpaper looked expensive. It's because he fucking was slowly having a heart attack. Bewildered, he tried to catch his breath. She was the cause of his surprise. The moment Sojiro's eyes snapped open, there she was, the girl dressed in black, sitting at his bedside. The silence was deafening. Still Suspine on the bed? Suspine? Is that the word? Sojiro gazed at her. His impulse was to sit up, but he refrained, thinking it might be rude to be staring at the person sitting next to him. She was just sitting there on a chair, menacingly. Dressed in black, modest clothes. Still, she projected an air that was anything but plain. Her monochrome outfit evoked indescribable elegance, like a costume handmade just for her, from the finest fabrics. It was enough to inspire poetic sentiments, even in Sojiro. The girl continued to sit, completely motionless. Without realizing it, Sojiro had stopped breathing. Genuine astonishment had him captivated. Such beauty, such grace, and all in his face. It was the first time he had ever thought to use such a simple, plain expression to describe another human being. She was the daffodil in perfect bloom, or the ideal female form seen only in dreams. This quality was something to be cherished and admired in her. It was different from Aoko's blindingly radiant vitality. After all, the flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And there was no way this girl would be allowed such a happy ending. Her life was a solitary fable of someone who left the world in exactly the same way they entered it. With her humanity stolen at birth, hers was an existence not of this world. The more beautiful something was, the more tragic its fate. Is this foreshadowing? Is Alice going to get capped by something? Oh no. Come on. I'm not that deep into the game and we're already foreshadowing Alice going to get fucking murked. Damn, that sucks. Not the emo queen, bro, not like this. Growing up in the mountains, this was not something Sojiro was taught, but something he learned from experience.
眠ってるみたいだ。
It looks like she's sleeping. Sojiro turned his head as though he was being lured in. He knew it was rude to stare, but he couldn't fight his instincts. Then...
Eh?
This time, his heart actually skipped a beat. She was not asleep at all. Expressionless, she was merely watching over him while he recovered.
Oh.
Sojiro froze, unable to turn his head away or think of something clever to say. It was like staring into her eyes turned him to stone. Perhaps because of her delicate features, she looked somewhat younger than him. Probably not. Or, on the other hand, her tranquil expression made him feel like she was older. Probably the case. Jet black hair, just to her shoulders. Her large eyes were set like onyx stones matching her hair. Yeah, notice how the game says she has onyx eyes, but during the fight, they gave her blue for some reason? Okay. Devoid of emotion, her gaze stayed fixed on Sojiro. Even after their eyes met, She did not turn away. He wanted to speak, but could not find the words. It was not unlike a frog being stared down by a snake. Nevertheless, he just could not bring himself to say something. Additionally, no matter how carefree Sojiro might have been, he was painfully aware that this girl was as powerful as Aoko. I think stronger, but less talkative to be sure, but still powerful. Objectively, the scene was not unlike that of someone nursing a bedridden stranger. He had no idea what she had been thinking about, but it seemed to him this harsh silence may last forever. All he could say for sure was that the quiet did not appear to bother her in the slightest. It was like some bizarre form of punishment.
これが青崎の仕込みなら手が込みすぎる。
If this is some kind of test from Aozaki, it sure is elaborate, he thought, keeping his eyes on the girl. He felt like the moment he turned his head or blinked, she might stab him in the chest with a hidden blade. And not because his imagination was running away with him. In the stifling silence, it was only natural that Sojiro would think back on what had happened in the park and made him uneasy. But stronger than anxiety was his fascination with the girl. Her slender frame. Oh, fuck. There we go. I did not mean to skip that back. Her slender frame and milky white skin. The chill of her guarded stare. The warmth of her lingering femininity. Okay. It was the mixture of those two latter qualities that was almost magical. That's ironic. He stared at her for so long, he began to get the feeling that they had met somewhere before. Sometime before the conflict at Kitsyland. He could not quite put his finger on it, but he was sure he had seen her previously.
その今更だけど
I don't know if this is the right time to ask this, but his voice shattered the frozen silence in the room. He almost felt sorry for making noise as he spoke out to her. But they cannot very well just sit and stare at each other forever. Though he might have been the only one thinking that they were staring, or perhaps she thought they were glaring at each other.
ここはどこで君は誰だかわかるかな
Where am I? And fuck, I fucked that one up already. And who might you be? She narrowed her eyes slightly, though apparently not out of offense. There was no response. Just as he was thinking it would be better, or been better to keep quiet, she quietly raised her hand.
これ、あなたのでしょ?
This is yours, is it not? Her voice was cold, but melodic. A white piece of cloth was wrapped in her fingers. There was no need to tell him what it was. He was conscious enough to recognize his own possessions. I hope so. Sojiro sat speechlessly as she tossed it to him. Picking it up, he wrapped it around his neck.
青子は、それを知っているの?
Does Aoko know about that? He looked away in response to her blunt question, distracted by something unrelated. She called Aoko by her given name, which led him to believe that the mountain Aoko had argued in his, which led him to believe that the mountain Aoko had argued with in his dream was actually the girl beside him.
さあ、どうだろう
I'm not sure. As sincerely as he could, he answered without presumption. There were things that should be known, and things that should not be. Oh fuck, so you're telling me we're not gonna know? She gets to see what the fuck's on his neck, but I'll never fucking know? That's not fair, game. You can't do that to me. There were also things that should be told, and other things that must not be. Sojiro was not exactly sure what that she was referring to. However,
でも、その方がいいとは思うよ。
But maybe it's better that way. He smiled slightly at her question. Perhaps impressed by his response, the overwhelming pressure in the room dissipated noticeably. Or maybe she had been more nervous than he was the entire time, projecting the image that his room was her domain a tad too strongly. Well, technically it's her room, not his. The tension faded. Sojiro tried to sit up and prop his arms beneath him. Now that they were talking, it seemed awkward to stay lying down. However, his body felt strange as he tried to move, and it surprised him how difficult it was to sit up. It took everything he had just to raise his upper body in a sitting position.
あれ、洋服のままだ。
Huh? I'm still in my clothes. I hope so. I don't know what type of dream you were having, man. As he threw the covers back, he tilted his head quizzically.
申し訳ない。こんないい布団なのに、これじゃ不釣り合いだ。というよりもったいない。
I'm sorry. This is such a nice bed, too. I shouldn't be in my clothes under the sheets. What a waste of a good bed. She stared at him, not expecting him to complain about not wearing pajamas while sleeping. Somehow, it appeared that he had done something to surprise her.
なんでだ。何もしてないぞ、俺。
But why? I didn't do anything. Pouting a bit at the unwarranted curiosity, he turned to face her. Although he was still mostly lying down, it was at least a more dignified position.
それで、さっきの続きだけど。
So, any chance you'll tell me? Indeed, he needed to find out where he was and who she was before anything else. Actually, the more he thought about it, the more he thought about what happened at the amusement park, the more he got a sinking feeling in his stomach. She's mad. Look at her face. She's like, you motherfucker. After what you did, I should fucking kill you right here, right now, but because I fucking promised Aoko I wasn't gonna fucking harm you. I'm assuming she did. Perhaps finally getting through to her, she calmly removed her arm from behind her back when somebody's run into the room. Once again, they silently locked eyes. Thump, thump, thump. There was a startling sound of something rapidly approaching footsteps. They both had a pretty good idea of who it was.
Alice! 約束!
Alice, you promised! Just as expected. Aoko burst through the door with a thunderous roar. She entered wearing her school uniform, her long hair flowing behind her. Her breathing was heavy, and her forehead was wrinkled in a scowl, granting her a demonic appearance.
Alice!
Alice! This girl named Alice scowled slightly in response. She may have even let a sigh of disappointment slip out.
早かったわね、青子。
Aoko. Home early, I see. Her calm voice was the polar opposite of Aoko's. Needless to say, her voice dripped with a brazen coldness.
そりゃあんたの性格は知り抜いてるからね。
That's because I know you all too well.
こういう時の短絡思考は、この2年で経験済みよ。お行儀がいいようで、面倒になったらあっさり投げ捨てるのがあんたでしょ?
Over the past 2 years, I've come to expect how quickly you jump to conclusions. You might act mild-mannered, but as soon as things don't go your way, the veil drops. I mean, there's a flip side to that coin there, Olgo. You're kind of the same way too, right?
いやね、人聞きの悪い。
Oh dear. You make it sound so scandalous. Effortlessly, she brushed aside Aoko's jab. In doing so, Sojiro had the distant impression that she no longer even realized he was in the room.
はっ。それで今日まで何度煮え湯を飲まされたことか。
Let the record show that I've lost count of how many times you've gone back on your word.
青子に譲ると言ったけど、よく考えると面倒だから私の方で処理しておいたわ。なんて言い訳、もう聞き飽きたっつーの。
I'm tired of hearing the same old story after the fact. I know I said I would leave it to you, but after careful consideration, I decided to take care of it myself.
短期なのはそっちの自由だけど、それなら後の始末は相方に任せるのが最低限の筋ってもんじゃないの？
I may have come to terms with your short fuse, but that's I'm pretty sure that's the what's the phrase? The what is it? The pot calling to the kettle or some shit like that. Again, there's a flip side of that coin. They're like I don't know. I may have come to terms with your short fuse, but the least you can do is return your trust is to do in return is trust your partner to set things right. No.
そうね。そうでなければ共闘している意味がないわ。
You're right. We wouldn't be partners otherwise.
まあ、今後の方針を勝手に決めた人のセリフじゃないとは思うけど。
Though, you're hardly one to talk after unilaterally deciding on our plan from here on out.
それもきっちり型をつけたでしょ？
We've been over this before.
いい？勝ったのは私たちよ。逃げ切れば見逃してあげるって言ったのは誰？言動には責任を持ちなさい、アリス。
We won, okay? Besides, who was the one who said we should let him live if he escaped? Yet again, you've gone back on your word, Alice.
それとも何？もしかして、一番気に食わないのはそのあたりの理由なわけ？
Oh, don't tell me. Next you'll be saying that's the reason you can't let sleeping dogs lie. Alice frowned slightly and fell silent. Her housemates seemed to have struck a nerve that Alice herself did not know was there.
とにかく、
Anyway,
こいつの扱いはちゃんと目が覚めて、本人の意思でどうするか決めるまで保留ってことで合意したでしょ？
we agreed to decide what to do with him when he wakes up, after hearing him out, right?
人の留守中に出し抜くのはやめてよね。
Stop trying to stop trying to flip the script every time my back's turned.
それ。青子、学校はどうしたの？まだ正午になったばかりなのに。
Are you supposed to be at school? It's noon already.
アリスのとこが今日で終わりって思い出して、家庭の事情ってことで早退したのよ。期末試験前だってのに、ほんと何やってんだか。
I remembered you only had your school's end of term ceremony today, so I told them I had to leave early for personal reasons. This is so warped. I have finals coming up, for goodness sake. Aoko grumbled, more to herself than anyone else in the room. Then she locked eyes with Alice. Bro, that's side-eye. Or more accurately, they glared daggers at each other. The room had become tense once again, and it felt like a fight could break out at any moment. With no way to escape, Sojiro had no choice but to sit and watch. But then, the electric silence that seemed like it would last forever suddenly broke, about a minute later. Apparently, this sort of clash was an everyday occurrence.
私は今に行っているから。
I'll be in the drawing room.
彼に事情を説明してあげて。
Explained the circumstances to him. Alice stood up from the chair and made for the door. Watching her go, Sojiro cocked his head. In her hands, what could only be described as a fucking knife. There it is, yep. Yo, she was like, oh my god, so he wasn't wrong. That, like, if he looked away, that knife would have been right into his chest, bro, or his jugular, one of the two. A fruit knife. He had no other words to describe the tool she was clutching.
アリス、あえて聞くけど、その手に持ってるの何？
Alice, I hate to ask, but what's in your hand right now? Alco asked Alice as she walked past.
探検ね。どう見ても。
A dagger. What else? Alice answered expressionlessly before briskly walking out of the room. Oh. Yeah, that's the face you should have, my man. Sojiro thought it was best to not think too deeply about the scene he had just witnessed. But like, dude, can I go home? Like, fuck, I'll just walk. Just, can I go home? Like, I don't want to be here right now. All right, whatever is going on between you two, that's between y'all. That ain't me, all right? At any rate, the girl in black had withdrawn, and along with her, the feeling of tension, leaving a bedridden Sojiro alone with an Aoko still dressed for school. From Sojiro's perspective, this was the perfect chance to get answers to his ever-growing list of questions.
わけのわからないことだらけだ、青崎。
My head's spinning, Aozaki.
でしょうね。順序立てて説明してあげるから、ちょっと黙ってて。
I bet. I'll explain everything in order, so just shut up and listen.
顔の麻痺も取れてるし、呼吸も再開っと。これならもう安心かな。
I see the facial paralysis is gone, and your breathing has stabilized. It looks like you were through the worst of it. I guess it's from when the egg exploded, and that had like an effect on him. She nodded, satisfied, as she took a seat.
どう調子は。
How do you feel? Like hammered shit.
なんか、だるい。
A bit sluggish. He answered meekly, dropping his shoulders. He opened and closed his left hand a few times, but Muna's fingers felt slow and awkward. It was clear he was still in bad shape. Meanwhile, Aoko was blinking her eyes in wonder. Or was it admiration? Between Alice and Aoko, Sojiro did not know which of the girls was the harder to read.
体が重いのは当然よ。
Well, you're bound to feel a bit sluggish.
丸2日経ってるし、寝てるだけでも体は弱ってるだろうし。
Lying in bed for 2 days straight would make anyone feel weak. Jesus
でも、
Christ, 2 fucking
もう
days?
話せるくらい回復してるとは思わなかった。
My man was slumped
あ
for
んたって
2
見かけ
days?
より頑丈にできてるのね。
Wild, okay. But I never thought you'd be well enough to speak. You look a lot tougher than you're a lot tougher than you look.
ん ?2 日って
Hmm? 2 days?
あれからそれだけ経ってるの。学校には欠席届出しといたから、その点は安心して。
It's been 2 days, but don't worry about the school. I submitted a notice of absence. Okay, what
ガ
about
ンド
his
の呪い
job?
もダンプティの呪いも、私とアリスとで解除しといたから。
In the meanwhile, Alice and I dispelled the Grander curse, or the Gander curse, and Dumpty poem. Sojiro nodded at the word curse, as if recalling it suddenly. It was all coming back to him now.
どうかした？そんな遠い目しちゃって。
What's wrong? You look troubled by something. Well, the fact that your friend tried to fucking murder me, you too was at the same time, so it's like, fuck.
ああ、忘れてた。それで2日も寝込んでたのか。怖いもんだな、呪われるってことは。
I just forgot everything that really happened is all. Was I really asleep for 2 days? Getting cursed is pretty scary.
ほんと緊張感ないわね、あんた。ローのように眠ってたのが嘘みたいよ。下手すると一生あのまま石膏もどきだったかもしれないのに。
You're as cool as a cucumber, huh? It's as if 2 days on death's door hasn't changed you a bit. Do you realize that you were one step away from becoming a vegetable for the rest of your life?
ちょっと待った。今すごいこと言わなかったか。
Wait a second. Was it really that bad?
言ったけど、聞かぬが花よ。
It was, and I guess you're proof that ignorance is bliss after all.
経緯はどうあれ。後でアリスにお礼を言っときなさい。私じゃ解除できなかったんだから。
Anyway, what's done is done. Be sure to thank Alice later. I couldn't have lifted the curse without her help.
ひどい花もあったもんだ。
Sometimes bliss is overrated.
けど、アリスっていうのはさっきの子か？遊園地で、俺たちを殺そうとした？
You said the name Alice, right? Was that girl Alice? Was she the one who, tried to kill us at the amusement park? Aoko replied that it was.
彼女、ずっとそこに座ってたけど、ここは彼女の部屋なのか？
She was sitting by my side for ages. Is this her room or something? That's just a guest bedroom. Sojiro scanned the room again. He was not accustomed to sleeping on anything other than a futon, and the room looked especially foreign to him.
ここはただの客室。長いこと使ってなかったから埃だらけでしょ。
No, this is just a guest room. It hasn't been used in forever, hence the dust over everything.
それより、アリスと何か話したの？あなた。
More importantly, what did you and Alice talk about? Not a damn thing.
お
Well,
いや、あれを会話というのはちょっと。
we didn't really talk so much as... He brought his hand to his mouth and recalled the few words they exchanged. As Sojiro said, calling it a conversation would be a gross overstatement. And yet, thinking back on it, it seemed like they had talked for hours, which brought an uncomfortable smile to his face.
とはいえ、緊張は解けたと思うよ。
But it's fine. I'm no longer worried.
青崎がやってくるのがもう少し遅かったらよかったのに。
Although, it would have been nice if you had come a little later, Aozaki. Bro, you're about to have a fucking knife in your chest, alright? If she came a little bit later, that would have been a knife deep in your sternum, my dude. I don't know what you're talking about, but alright. Aoko... Oh, fuck. I keep doing that. Aoko narrowed her eyes at his innocent slip of the tongue. She knew Sojiro did not mean to treat her like a nuisance. But nevertheless, she found it hard to take the full brunt of the words said to her face. Even worse, she sensed she was getting used to his manner of speaking.
でも、だからなのかもね。相変わらず首の皮一枚の人生を送ってるわ、あなたって。
So, that's why she... You really do have a knack for surviving by the skin of your teeth, don't you? He tilted his head, clearly confused.
だから、あんたはよっぽどアリス好みの対応をしたのよ。まだ生きてるってそういうこと。
I'm saying you did something to please Alice. That's the reason you're still alive. He's like, pardon? No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't grasp what she was getting at. He decided to change the subject to something else.
ところで、ここはどこなんだ？あの子に聞いても教えてくれなかったけど、青崎なら教えてくれるだろ？
I asked the other girl, but she wouldn't tell me. You can tell me, right, Aozaki?
ここは三崎町の幽霊屋敷よ。正確には、久遠寺邸と言えばいいかしらね。
You're inside Misaki's infamous haunted house, but you can call it the Kuonji estate.
さっきの
Or
子、久遠寺アリスの持ち家で、私が住んでるところでもある。あの後あなたをここまで持ってきたんだけど、覚えてないでしょ？
After that girl, and that girl, that's Alice Kuonji. This is her mansion, which happens to be the place I currently call home. After the other night, I brought you here. You don't remember, do you? No, he was inside of a fucking bottle for like a good hour and then was asleep for 2 days. I don't know what you want from him. Women. Alright. Something about the way she said that made him feel uncomfortable.
久遠寺っていう名前は聞き覚えがあるような。そうだ。よく商店街でおじさんたちが話してた。なんでも偉いお金持ちだとかなんとか。
Kuonji. I've heard that name before. Hey, I know some old guys in the shopping district were talking about it. The Kuonjis are a rich and famous family or something.
それ、アリスの前ではご法度よ。穏便にここで暮らしたいならね。
Don't you dare say that in front of Alice. If you want to live here in peace, that is.
お？
Oh god, is he living here now? What happened to his apartment? Did they fucking raid that shit? Confused yet again. Don't worry, I'm also confused. Sojiro tilted his head for what seemed like the 100th time that day. And once again, he had heard something to make him feel uneasy.
青崎、君今なんて言った？
Aozaki, did you just say...
しずきくん、私ね、あからさまな嘘を言う人と、同じことを何度も言わせる人と、察しの悪い人には容赦しないから。
That fucking face. That's funny. Suzuki, I have very little patience for liars, idiots, and people that make me repeat
そ
myself.
のあたり覚えておいてね。ここで平穏に暮らしたいなら。
Do your best to remember that if you want to enjoy your stay here. I'm like, bro, I just want to fucking go home. I don't know what you guys are talking about. With her best smile, Aoko made her threatening proclamation. Needless to say, it caught Sojiro completely off guard.
気のせいならいいんだけど、君の言葉には俺がここに住むような響きが感じられる。
He's like, alright, smartass. I must have misheard you, because I could have sworn you said something about me living here. He shot her an honest stare of disapproval. It was the best resistance he could muster, but it's not the slightest effective against Aoko's overpowering ruthless glare.
あなた、自分の立場を分かってる？
The quicker you understand the position you're in, the better it'll be for you. You mean... He considered her words carefully. He wanted to openly express his feelings on the matter, but instead he swallowed his words and shook his head. Despite his typical inability to read people's emotions, he at least seemed to understand the gravity of the situation. It appeared that he finally realized that it was his carefree mood that typically got on Aoko's nerve.
ああ、そうだった。あんたに回りくどいこと言っても無駄だったのよね。
My mistake. I forgot there's no use beating around the bush with you. Yeah, your apartment, we set that bitch on fire.
考える時間ぐらいあげたかったけど、時間もないし、はっきりと言ってあげる。
Fine. I wanted to give you time to think, but we're way past that, so I'll just come out right and say it.
いい？
We own you
しずきくん。
now. Listen to me, Suzuki. Me and Alice, yeah, we own you now, alright? So, you're gonna listen by our rules, and our rules only.
この度、
Poor
あな
bastard.
たは、私たちの監視下に置かれることになりました。しばらくはここで一緒に暮らしてもらいます。
As of now, you're being placed under our supervision. You'll be living here together with us for the time being. The time being what? Until he's better from the curse and dumped his poem?
もちろん、生殺与奪の権利はこちらにあるという条件で。
Naturally, I reserve the right to decide whether you live or die. That's
No.
fucked. What? The blatant tyranny in her voice caused him to sputter. He wished that she would stop smiling at him in an attempt to make it seem less outrageous.
一緒に住むって、青崎とか？
Live together with you? Why the hell would I want that? It was not the faint expectation of living under the same roof with Aoko that had him flustered. Rather, he was genuinely concerned about his own safety. Regardless of how good-natured he was, it seemed he finally had come to grips with the fact that he just escaped death.
とんでもない。冬眠前の熊と一緒に暖を取るようなもんだ。
You can't be serious. That's like seeking warmth next to a bear before it goes to hibernation. Aoko agreed, as blunt as a comparison as it was.
たまには的確な比喩をするじゃない。
Once in a while, you have some pretty accurate metaphors, you know.
あなたの言う通り、下手なことをしたり決まりを破ったりしたら、今度こそ息の根止めるからね。
But I'm glad you figured it out. Make a wrong move, or break a rule, and I'll end you. For real this time. Wait, that's fucking... Hold on. No, what? You say he gets to... What? That doesn't... Did I miss something? What the fuck were Alice and Aoko talking about while he was asleep? Because at the end of the last chapter, he was basically free to go. And that's it. I feel like he should be able to just continue living in fucking peace. I mean, besides the two giant fucking elephants in the room known as Aoko and Alice that are probably going to be like, yeah, let's just kill him right here. That's kind of... What type of Indian giver, like, takesy-backsies type shit is that? The fuck?
それと、ここに住んでるのは私とアリスの二人だけよ。
Plus, it's just me and Alice you'll be living with.
あの子、私なんかより数倍常識ないから。気をつけないと死んじゃうぞ。
She has way less common sense than I do. So if you're not careful, you'll wind up dead by her hands too. Aoko was 100% serious. It was her sincerity that made it all more believable.
いや。
No. Obviously, there was no way the victim Sojiro could accept these terms.
待ってくれ。俺にはちっとも青崎がわからない。
Wait a minute, you're not making any sense.
監視するって言うけど、なんでそんな話になってるんだ？考えられる範囲、悪いこととかしてないし、そもそも俺を見張っても得なことなんて一個もないし、青崎はいろいろ間違ってる。
You say I'm under your supervision, but why is that necessary? If you think about it, I haven't even done anything wrong. So there's no point in keeping an eye on me. This has to be a misunderstanding, bro. I feel you 100%, man.
いや、それとも魔術師っていうのは、みんな青崎みたいなのか。
Is it... Are all mages like you, Aozaki? Arrogant and selfish were the words that the harmless boy's gaze seemed to imply. Aoko felt a headache coming on. Due to his innate easygoing persona, Sojiro had not thought to question that Aoko being a mage was out of the ordinary. I don't think he cares
だ
about that.
からあんたがそういう風に誰はばかることなく私たちのことを言いふらさないかを見張ってんじゃないこの常識なし。
That's the problem. We need to keep an eye on you so you don't go around saying things like that and blow our cover, you dunce. Well, first of all, he already fucking did when he talked about it to Tobimaru. Are you gonna fucking kill Tobimaru next? Like, what? And Aoko, technically, yeah, should kill Tobimaru if fucking... if Sojiro basically told him what he saw that fucking night. So does that mean Tobimaru's gonna be fucking 6 feet below now too? What the fuck? Man, I'll tell you what, dude. If that's what a mage is like being in this world, I fucking don't want to be one. Or just being a normal person, I meant to say. So you found out one wrong thing, it's like you're fucking dead for like no reason. Just to keep the magecraft just a secrecy, you know? Aoko flew out of her chair. She had been doing her best to keep her cool, but it seemed her well of patience was finally run dry. Witnessing Aoko snap, Sojiro clapped his hands together.
そうか。青崎が俺を殺そうとしたのは、魔術師であることを隠さなくちゃいけないからだったっけ。
Oh, I get it now. The reason you tried to kill me was because you have to hide the fact that you're a mage.
うん、それならわかる。監視するのは青崎の秘密のことで、俺の命云々はおまけみたいなものか。
Okay. If that's the case, then I get it. You're monitoring me to protect your secret, and not taking my life is your way of throwing me a bone. She's like, what the fuck is this idiot?
そりゃ本質的に言えばそうだけど身も蓋もないわねその言い方。
I mean, those aren't the words I would use, but sure, it sounds a bit harsh when you put it that way. No, I mean, that's the exact situation you guys have him in. I don't know what the fuck you mean that sounds harsh. What? What? He's not the one being unreasonable here. It's you and Alice.
けど、それはあまり意味がないんじゃないか？
But isn't this all a little unrealistic?
学校もあるし、バイトだってあるんだ。一日中この家から出ないわけにはいかないんだぞ。
I have school and work to go to. I can't stay locked up inside this house all day. Yo, that day. That's why I fuck with Sojiro. I mean, that's a working man right there, bro. He's like, look, I'll keep your fucking secret. Can I just go back to making fucking money and going back to school, please? In an instant, Sojiro objectively had her stumped, leaving her at loss of words. He honestly had no idea what position he was in. To believe that he had any sort of freedom at this point was shocking, to say the least. See, there it is. Where it's like, no, bro, 100%, you're staying here, so pick up a book, I don't know, some colored pencils, this is your life now.
いや落ち着け私話が早くなってある意味助かるし。
Just breathe, Aoko. If anything, this will speed things along. Aoko somehow managed to compose herself. As a matter of fact, she never had any intention of imprisoning him. But I can guarantee that's what you and Alice exactly agreed upon. Stripping him of his freedom and incarcerating him would go against their agreement anyway. Besides, if she was going to do that, going to go that far, it would be easier just to kill him. To Aoko, letting him live meant showing a modicum of respect to Sojiro's way of life.
もしかして、この部屋から出ちゃいけないのか俺。
You're not saying... Wait. Don't tell me. I can't even leave this room? A light bulb went on in his head as he blurted out what he was thinking. It appeared he had finally got the grim message. Aoko somewhat looked satisfied at his dismay.
大丈夫よ 監禁生活なんて面倒なことだけはしないから。
Relax, locking you up would actually be more trouble than it's worth.
あなたの自由はそれなりに考慮してあります。そのあたりのさじ加減はアリスの手腕に任せてあるから。あなたは心配しなくていいわ。
Your freedom was taken into consideration. To what degree you are free will be left in the discretion of Alice and her abilities, so you won't have to worry about that. A gloomy look fell over Sojiro's face as he found his concern growing by the second.
いい。あなたの処遇はこの家に住むことを前提にした監視で、それも解決策が見つかるまでの期間限定。
Alright, look. Sparing your life is based on the premise that you will live in this house under supervision, and that only until a more permanent solution is found. I don't know, doesn't Alice have a fucking bird that she can use to watch over him? I mean, that's just a thought, right? Not like she was talking to that during their fucking fight, but hey, that's just me.
何でもいいから目撃者を殺すなんてことより、こっちの方がよっぽど穏便でしょ？
It's a lot more amicable than just disposing of the witness, don't you think? I'm pretty sure that'd be easier.
大体、これは私とあなたとの約束なんだから、いちいち文句言わないでよね。ただでさえアリスとの冷戦が続いてて頭痛いんだから。
At any rate, this is my way of keeping our promise, so no complaining. This cold war I'm waging with Alice is enough of a headache already. She sighed as she stared Sojiro down as he laid on the bed.
けど、勘違いはしないで。
But make no mistake, we will kill you.
ここじゃあんたの地位は最下層のさらに下。番犬より下なんだから。あんたの生殺与奪は、あの夜から私が握ってるんだから。あんたは私に所有されてるようなもんなの。
Your status here is the lowest of the low, even lower than a dog's. Since that night, I'm the one to decide whether you live or die, which means you belong to me now. Again, I feel like... Okay. I mean, you just can't say, yeah, you're free to, I won't... Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm just like, what? This is such a weird predicament that fucking Sojiro's in. Like, what? Like that. I feel like she took back on a lot of things, but I mean, yeah, I guess Sojiro's the type of guy that because, he really speaks out what's on his mind, that it is dangerous, but it's like, come on now. You can't be like, yeah, you're free to go. Oh, but here's the rules that we set in place. No, yeah, you're under supervision. You can't leave this building. You belong to me now. It's like, what the fuck?
これで自分の立場、わかった？
Is that clear enough for you? As Alice finished her declaration, I can tell you for a fact that that's not Alice, but definitely Aoko, okay? Sojiro suddenly looked up at the ceiling so she would not notice his reaction. He meant no offense to Aoko, but he had to hide the fact that he was fundamentally disagreed with her analogy. Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I'm 100% with you, buddy. I feel for you right now. In Sojiro's opinion, it was disrespectful to both dogs and humans to call him lower than a dog. A more accurate analogy of their power dynamic would be that of a rabbit and a wild boar, hence why he chose not to voice his opinion. Unlike his apartment, the ceiling was decorated with ornate patterns. Putting aside how you would retreat it here, in terms of lodging, it was a definite upgrade. Maybe it would not be that bad. Sojiro nodded slowly as he persuaded himself. And
とりあえず、命は助けてあげるから。
for the time being, I decided to let you live, which, here's also a secret list of, words that go by that statement. That is what she had told him, not 2 days ago.
あまり納得したくないけど、自分の立場は分かったよ。確かにそんな約束だった。いろいろと言いたいことはあるけど、それは認めるしかない。
Well, I don't really accept what you're saying. I understand my position. I remember what you promised me now. There are lots of things I could disagree with, but I admit you did promise me that.
だけど、君たちと一緒に住めっていうのは本気なのか？青崎は細かいことは気にしないとしても、さっきの子は嫌がりそうだし、俺だって少しは。
Are you really serious about me living with you two? I know you're pretty easygoing, but that girl seems pretty against it. I'm not exactly... At that point, he zipped his lips. Alko's eyes were tinged with bloodlust.
あら、しずきくんはご不満？
Oh, please, excuse me? I'm sorry to hear that you're dissatisfied with the agreement. Yeah, because that's not what he agreed to. It's like if someone handed you a contract, but they signed it for you. It's like, no, that's not what you promised, but sure. Her contrived smile, so obviously forced, struck despair into Sojiro's heart. Come to think of it, he vaguely recalled her warning to him to not make her repeat herself. Furthermore, as a practical matter, Sojiro's life was now in the hands of Aoko. It would be unwise to anger her further, he told himself as speaking to a third person.
いや、別に。だってそれ以外ないんだろ。
Not at all. I mean, what choice do I have anyway? None, Aoko said with a firm nod of her head. Sojiro slumped his shoulders in surrender.
うん。青崎の言い分は分かった。
Alright. I understand you now, Ozaki. Just uppercut to the chin.
ただ、一応聞いておきたいんだけど、
Jumps out the window.
俺の人権はどこに行ってしまったんだろう。
Just let me ask you one thing. Do I have any human rights? Between those two? No.
バカね。そんな形のないものなんて初めからあるわけないでしょ。つまんないこと言わないでよ。
Poor little Shizuki. You never had any in the first place. Now, stop wasting my time with... See, that's what's kind of angering me about Aoko right now. It's like, you can't promise one thing, but then all of a sudden act like a condescending bitch about it. Like, what? But Sojiro reflected on her answer, now feeling like his question was indeed stupid. He had already known the answer before he asked.
ああ、だと思った。そんな気はしてたんだ。目が覚める前から。
That's what I thought. I had a feeling this was going to happen, even before waking up. His muttering provoked a dubious stare from Aoko, before she quickly retracted it. If she questioned every little thing he said, they would be there until sundown.
とにかく、納得いったみたいね。
Well, as long as you understand.
じゃあ次。いよいよ本題。今に移動するわよ。説明しなくちゃいけないことが山ほどあるんだから。
Now, we need to get down to brass tacks. Let's move to the drawing room. I have a ton of explaining to do.
で、一人で立てる？
Can you stand on your own?
さっきから手を動かしてたから、血は巡ってる。歩くぐらいならいけそうだ。
I was able to move my hands earlier, so blood is at least flowing. I should be able to walk. He stands up, he fucking starts like stumbling like Bambi. Like a newborn baby deer. Good. You'll be fine then. With that, she turned her back and walked away from him. He has seen this bold form of hers many times before. Instantly, memories flash back to him like lightning.
そうだった。青崎はこういうやつだった。
I remember now. This is the Ozaki I know. And well, with that, I think we're going to stop right here. Alrighty, so what did we learn today? Sojiro has no human rights. That's pretty much it. Well, let's see how he can manage to get himself out of this predicament. Which probably is not going to help when you have basically what is two fucking people with the ability to make sure you no longer exist. But hey, what are you going to do? But that's going to be it for today's video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. And if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. This is your boy White Album. I'll see you guys next time.